Ilia made a bold statement this week, saying he firmly believes that Merab could move up to featherweight and beat Alexander Volkanovski. Speaking in an interview with Bets in Sport, Ilia shared his respect and admiration for Merab, calling him one of the most hardworking and genuine fighters in the sport today. He said, "I'd like to wish good luck to Merab, as he just got yet another fight scheduled. That man is not normal. He's an incredible human being, the salt of the earth. I haven't met many people like him." Ilia went on to explain that he has already told Merab several times that he should consider changing weight classes. According to Ilia, Merab has the power, the wrestling, and the relentless pace to not only compete, but also dominate at featherweight. He truly believes that Merab could capture a second belt if he ever decided to make that move. Ilia emphasized that Merab's work ethic is on another level. He trains like a machine, pushes himself harder than anyone else, and never lets emotions get in the way of his mission. Ilia said that this kind of discipline and determination is exactly what it takes to defeat someone as skilled and experienced as Volkanovski. When asked about how a potential matchup between Merab and Volkanovski would play out, Ilia didn't hesitate for a second. He said, "I have no doubts about what happens in that fight. I know it ends with Merab winning." That level of confidence from Ilia says a lot, especially since he himself is currently one of the most dominant forces in the featherweight division. Ilia's prediction has definitely stirred some conversation among fans. Many agree that Merab's wrestling-heavy style, endless cardio, and pressure could give Volkanovski serious problems. Others believe that Volkanovski's striking the move on to another news. Rampage Jackson once again found himself in an altercation, and this time it might even lead to a lawsuit. The incident happened during a live stream, when Rampage got visibly upset after believing someone mentioned his son, Raja. Things got tense quickly as Rampage confronted a man and a woman during the broadcast, clearly uncomfortable with what was said. The man tried to play it off, but Rampage wasn't having it. He said, "He knows better. He wouldn't ask me that if he knew what I was talking about." The situation seemed confusing at first, with the woman trying to calm things down, apologizing multiple times, saying she didn't mean any harm. Rampage eventually cooled off, but the moment had already gone viral. The clip spread fast online, showing an emotional side of the former UFC champion that fans rarely see. Later that day, Rampage spoke up about what really happened. According to him, the woman from that video reached out afterward, demanding that he take the clip down. Rampage said she's even considering suing him. He explained the situation during another live stream, saying, "That lady that was with that dude asking about my son, she wants some clips removed. She wants to sue me. But we were filming in a public area. I didn't say anything bad to her." Rampage then addressed how deeply personal the subject was for him. He said, "When you got kids, it's different. No matter what's going on, it's still your kid. People don't understand how personal that is. You can talk about a lot of things, but when it comes to your own blood, it hits different. It's like an extension of you." He admitted that he might have overreacted, but said the situation felt disrespectful. "That dude had a smirk on his face," Rampage said. "He tried to play it off, saying he's a fan, but he knew what he was doing. I gave him a chance to back off, but he doubled down." Rampage made it clear that while the interaction got heated, he didn't cross any lines. "If she wants to sue, she can try," he said. "But I'm not taking anything down. We were in a public place, and I didn't threaten or disrespect anyone. It's just that people don't understand how emotional things get when it's about your kid." He ended the stream by reflecting on his reaction, admitting, "I was wrong. I should have just walked away." Despite the tension, Rampage's honesty about his feelings showed how personal and painful the topic truly is for him. Move on to another news. Plessis made a strong statement this week, saying there is absolutely no chance that Khamzat could ever beat Alex Pereira. Speaking to the media, Plessis gave his honest thoughts about the potential matchup and didn't hold back. He said that Khamzat is known for his wild callouts and confidence, but when it comes to Alex, the gap is just too big. According to Plessis, Pereira is on another level right now and stands as one of the greatest combat athletes in the world. Plessis said, "I mean, he's always had crazy callouts, Khamzat, but there's no way he beats Pereira in my opinion. Right now, Pereira is one of the greatest to ever do it, not just in MMA, but in any combat sport." He went on to explain that Pereira's size, striking power, and composure inside the cage make him nearly impossible to beat at this point in his career. Du Plessis also mentioned how massive Pereira looked in his recent fight against Magomed Ankalaev, saying, even now at light heavyweight, he looked huge against Ankalaev. It was crazy. You could see the difference in power and physicality. I don't think Khamzat could deal with that. While Khamzat has shown incredible grappling and pressure at middleweight, Du Plessis believes Pereira's defensive skills and knockout power would completely neutralize him. He added that Khamzat's wrestling wouldn't be enough to hold Pereira down, especially since Pereira's takedown defense has improved tremendously over his last few fights. Du Plessis doesn't even think the matchup will ever happen. He believes it's more hype than reality. I think it's all just talk, he said. There's no realistic chance that fight ever happens. The weight difference, the timing, everything about it just doesn't make sense. He concluded by saying that Pereira is not only dominating inside the octagon, but also building a legacy that few can touch. Right now, Du Plessis said, Pereira is doing something special. He's chasing greatness in a way we haven't seen before. Khamzat is good, but against Alex Pereira, he has no chance. Move on to another news. Alex Pereira has once again addressed the idea of fighting Jon Jones, and this time, he says he completely agrees with Jones about how big this matchup would be. Speaking with ConnectCast, Pereira explained that he sees the fight as a win-win situation for both of them, no matter the outcome. For Pereira, it's not just about titles or rankings anymore. It's about legacy. He said, I've always talked about this fight, about moving up to heavyweight, but then I told myself, man, stay in your weight class. I wanted to stay disciplined, stay focused on my division, and think about my health. But now I'm 38 years old, and at the same time, I'm thinking about my career. I think that's the fight which needs to happen. Pereira admitted that his mindset has changed as he's gotten older. After defending his title multiple times and cementing his name as one of the most dangerous strikers in MMA, he now feels ready to challenge himself in a completely new way. The idea of facing Jon Jones, arguably the greatest fighter of all time, excites him like nothing else. He added, even Jon Jones was talking about this fight. That's what he said in his interview the other day, right? I think the same way he does. We're both big names. No matter what happens, nobody loses in this fight. According to Pereira, both he and Jones have built legacies that go beyond wins and losses. If they meet inside the octagon, it would be one of the most iconic moments in UFC history. For me, he said, it's about giving the fans something they'll never forget. It's not about fear or risk, it's about greatness. Pereira has already conquered multiple weight divisions, and moving up to heavyweight would be yet another historic challenge. He knows the danger that comes with facing a fighter like Jones, but remains confident in his abilities. At this stage of my career, Pereira said, I'm ready for any challenge. If it happens, it happens. But when it does, it'll be something special for the sport. For both men, this fight represents more than just competition. It's about proving who truly stands at the top of the MMA world. Move on to another news. Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen recently discussed the potential matchup between Alex Pereira and Khamzat, and both agreed on one major concern: the size difference. According to them, Pereira may simply be too big for Khamzat to handle if the two ever meet inside the octagon. While Khamzat's wrestling and relentless pressure are undeniable, Cormier and Sonnen believe that size and strength would play a major role in how that fight unfolds. Cormier said, man, Pereira is just so big. I do think size matters at a certain point. Khamzat would definitely be a problem in certain positions, but ultimately, Pereira's size would make all the difference. Even if he goes down once or twice, that's a huge man to drag to the canvas for 25 straight minutes. He explained that Khamzat might be able to control Pereira early, but over the course of 5 rounds, that size advantage would start to take over. Sonnen agreed, adding that this isn't like jumping from welterweight to middleweight. It's a completely different level. At some point, size has to matter, he said. It might not matter from 170 to 185, but once you start jumping 20 or 30 pounds, it changes everything. You're talking about a 185-pound guy who walks around at 210 versus a light heavyweight who cuts from 235 or even 245 on fight night. That's a huge difference. Cormier went on to emphasize how that weight disparity affects not only grappling, but also striking. Pereira's reach, power, and ability to absorb damage at a higher weight class give him a serious edge. You can't just rush in on a guy that big and strong, he said. It's not just about wrestling anymore. It's about surviving the strikes, the power, and the physical pressure. Both analysts admitted it's a tough fight to predict, especially considering Khamzat's skill set and drive. However, they agreed that in a real fight scenario, the size factor cannot be ignored. Cormier summed it up perfectly, saying, "If we're talking about what they weigh right now, Pereira beats him. That's just reality. The man is too big, too powerful, and too composed." While fans continue to debate the fantasy matchup, both Cormier and Sonnen made one thing clear. Khamzat may be elite, but against Alex Pereira, size truly matters. Move on to another news. Ilia has once again made headlines after calling a potential fight with Islam Makhachev at the UFC White House event the biggest fight in history. The reigning double champion believes that this matchup would not only be monumental for the UFC, but also for the sport itself. Following Makhachev's move to welterweight in pursuit of becoming a two-division champion, Ilia made history of his own by knocking out Charles Oliveira at UFC 317 to become the only undefeated double champion in UFC history. Now, as he prepares for his upcoming title defense against JDM at UFC 322, Ilia has reignited fans' excitement with his latest comments. During a press conference in Georgia, Ilia said that if he were to compete at the UFC White House card next year, he'd want it to be against Islam Makhachev. He said, "I think it would be one of the biggest fights in UFC history. No one has ever fought for a third title, and Islam has already dominated his division and moved up. It's a fight of giant magnitude that benefits everyone, including the UFC." The White House card, officially confirmed for June 14, 2026 by President Donald Trump, is already being called one of the most historic events in combat sports. Ilia's confidence only fuels the hype, especially since the two were close to fighting once before. They were originally targeted to clash at UFC 317 for the lightweight belt and the #1 pound-for-pound spot, but after JDM defeated Belal Muhammad at UFC 315, Makhachev decided to move up in weight instead. Now, with Makhachev preparing to fight at Madison Square Garden in November, Ilia believes that if Islam wins, their long-awaited clash will finally happen. He said, "If Islam loses, he can go back to Dagestan and continue shepherding his sheep. But if he wins, I'll definitely move up, 100%. Before that potential super fight, however, Ilia's focus remains on defending his lightweight crown at UFC 322. With the UFC's massive new $7.7 billion broadcasting deal with Paramount starting in January 2026, the organization plans to launch a new ERA with Ilia as one of its main stars. He confirmed that discussions are already underway for him to headline the debut event, saying, "It's very possible. I'm very happy about this new deal with Paramount." Ilia also mentioned that the new partnership will finally allow the UFC to host European events at local prime time, something that was nearly impossible under the previous ESPN deal. For Ilia, that change represents growth, not just for him, but for the entire sport. Move on to another news. Jiri Prochazka has responded to claims that he was losing against Khalil Rountree before scoring that incredible knockout victory. Appearing on the Pound for Pound podcast, Jiri was asked by Henry Cejudo whether he believed he was down 2 rounds heading into the third. But Jiri immediately shut that down, saying it was not true. Henry told him, "It seemed like you were down 2 rounds to 0 before that comeback in the third." But Jiri disagreed, saying, "No, I don't think so. Maybe that second round was his, yeah. But in terms of the overall game, what was happening in the cage, it was in my hands. Maybe he threw more punches and caught me a little, but I was setting things up, controlling the space, and finding the best way to take over." He explained that his strategy wasn't about rushing or forcing exchanges early on, but about studying Khalil's movements and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "You remember," Jiri told Henry, "when we were training in Arizona, you wrote on paper, 'Take the risk.' So in the last round, that was it. Everything I did, I knew exactly what I was doing. It was risky, yes, but it was a calculated risk." Jiri described how he could see Khalil slowly breaking down throughout the fight. Step by step, his reactions were getting slower, his movements worse and worse with every round. "I don't want to say it was my plan to start slow, but I wanted to build the pressure, to increase the intensity little by little until the moment came." He went on to explain that this was part of his overall fighting philosophy: patience, timing, and flow. "I tried to put more and more of myself into every exchange, increasing the percentage of performance with every round until the fight was mine." That patience paid off beautifully, as Jiri delivered one of the most dramatic comebacks of the year, a third-round knockout that reminded everyone why he's considered one of the most unpredictable and dangerous fighters in the world. For Jiri, it wasn't luck or desperation. It was control, calm, and confidence, all coming together at the perfect moment.